Welcome back yet again on a Matich Monday. ESPN college football insider and expert. He is a national champion. Trevor Matich is back on the show. Trevor, how was your weekend of football from Thursday to Sunday between college and NFL overall?
No, it was fantastic. What a weekend for BYU. I mean, they get this win. They've got guys in the NFL that are doing great. I mean, it was for BYU fans and for me in particular, having gone there, it was a wonderful weekend just starting there.
Yeah, let alone General Conference. We had a great weekend, right? So let's talk about how BYU did this. We just shared our opinions, but how did BYU win this game with 295 yards of offense and being out yarded by over 200?
Situational football. I mean, they won the game with execution and being more mistake free. It's the way they kind of lost it against Kansas. And so you can see the Cougars take a step forward. You can see their determination. I mean, they gave up a lot of third down conversions, about 50% to Cincinnati. But Cincinnati was only 1 and 3 on fourth downs. BYU's defense got two, or BYU's defense and then special teams, they got two turnovers. And so this is how BYU wins. BYU had fewer penalties than Cincinnati. So while Cincinnati was moving the ball up and down the field, in the moment when a play had to happen, either BYU made that play or Cincinnati did something to hurt themselves. And so this is BYU's formula going forward. You know, that they're a more disciplined group in general because of the way they recruit and the kind of kid that comes to BYU. And when they play to that, they're really hard to beat.
Trevor, I can't explain BYU football right now in any other word than almost sudden. Like they can just be doing nothing, and then all of a sudden there's this explosive set of plays, and all of a sudden they're up 14 on you. And I mean, I almost felt like it was straight thievery that BYU led at halftime based on how that first half went. But this is kind of who BYU is against Arkansas, even moments against Kansas, and now in the most recent win against Cincinnati. My question is it sustainable? Is this formula sustainable for BYU to win more football games?
It's a good foundation to win football games. There are things they need to improve on both sides of the ball. But if you ask, is this sustainable? This is what you need to build from. That kind of making, not mistake free, but making fewer mistakes than the other side, and then building from there, because then that keeps you in position to be able to make plays when they start to arise. And that happened in that touchdown drive at the end of the first half. I mean, BYU hadn't moved the ball at all. I mean, not at all. And then all of a sudden, three plays, pass plays all of over 20 yards each, boom, 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 touchdown. It's like, where did that come from? And then they came out in the second half and kept doing it. They kept doing what was working. And I tell you, I give a lot of credit to the BYU offensive brain trust, Aaron Roderick, offensive coordinator, and the way they put together that game plan, because you saw a lot of creativity. You saw that Darius Lassiter touchdown. It was great. You had three receivers on the left. Before the snap, the outside receiver shifted into the middle, which made the defense shift in, and it made them communicate. Then at the snap, the two outside receivers ran inside, and Lassiter, who was on the inside of that formation, looped around to the outside, and they lost track of him. By doing that shift before the snap and then that loop after the snap, it gave Cincinnati's defense an opportunity to miscommunicate, and they did. And then just physically, they finished the play. I mean, there were lots of things like that. BYU ran a fake bubble screen. I loved it, where the quarterback pump faked, and then receiver that should have been blocking or would have been blocking ran down the field to go out for a pass. It was wonderful, the creativity that they used to spring guys in this game, in the passing game. And again, that's another part of the foundation that they can continue to build from.
Okay, the yards per carry were not great. A late fumble chews up some of that yardage, 2.5 yards per carry. But LJ Martin, 16 for 66, 2 touchdowns, 4.1 yards per carry. A little Miles Davis in there as well, 4 for 17. What did you make of the offensive line and the run game that we have belabored throughout the season?
Well, I will say this first about the offensive line, that all those great pass plays that Keaton Slovis had, most of them, somebody was protecting. And you've got to give them a lot of credit, and for that side of it. The run game, the stats look better. You can see them fighting more, and that's good. I mean, you can pick it apart, pick it way apart. when it comes to the actual performance, even on some of their best runs. But from a standpoint of what they need to do week to week, they're doing better. They seem to be playing with more anger, and that's where it starts. Because as an offensive lineman in the running game, you can't just fit up and push. That's what a receiver does on a bubble screen, right? You need to be mad. You need to fire out and intend to inflict discomfort on that guy. And you're seeing more of that attitude start to get into their game.
Trevor Matich of ESPN is with us on BYU Sports Nation for another Matich Monday. It's now the bye week for BYU, 4-1 through 5 games. Great position, all things considered. If you go back to the beginning of the season and consider that BYU in some metrics was picked to win only 4 games all year, they're already there through 5. So, Trevor, you've been talking a lot about the foundation. In the bye week, you constantly are seeking to get better and improve and get healthy. What's the one aspect that you would circle that BYU really needs to shore up if they're to have a successful October and then push forward?
I think that the biggest thing besides health is the running game. And that means the offensive line needs to keep working on not falling off blocks and on their target when they hit a defensive linebacker or defensive lineman. Because if you put your head in the right spot and then you keep pushing, even if you push a guy towards the hole, the running back can cut back behind him if you push him farther than he wants to go. And so there's a lot of learning experiences from this game. For example, on LJ Martin's 29-yard touchdown run, that was a great play call, just fantastic play call. BYU was on the right hash. They ran into the short side of the field on 3rd and 13. The defense thought it was a pass. It was a run. And so the guy over the right tackle, he rushed the passer. The right tackle turned and chased him upfield. The guy over the center actually crossed his face and almost made a tackle for loss. The right guard went down for the linebacker who was dropping into his zone, and they didn't even make contact till about 7 yards deep. And so, there are things there that they did well. There are things there that they took advantage of. There are things there that they can get better at. And in that one play, you can see all 3 of those. And I think the bye week will help with that.
BYU since 2019 is now 26-3 when the kickoff is 6 p.m. or later. Cougars hunt at night, as Riley Nelson said last week. What do you make of that stat? Because it's 14-13 before 6 p.m. in the same time frame.
Yeah, I don't. To me, that's just all psychological. There are some teams that do well on earlier starts, and some teams that kind of freak out at night. And then there's the opposite. LSU, they play great at night. It's like, okay, but why? In my opinion, you're a football player. You get up, and if you're groggy because it's an early start, the other guy's groggy too. So go out there and make him pay for being groggy, right? That's the kind of mindset of it. If it's a cold, rainy, miserable day and you got dirt and grass down the back of your neck and you're just miserable, guess what? The other guy is too. So you hammer him and you make him fold because your will is greater. And so when it comes to the start of the kickoff, I see it that way. I think it's interesting for fans to look at those kinds of stats. But if a football player is influenced in his play by that kind of a thing, he needs to toughen up.
Trevor Matich is always on his A game, whether it's 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., 24/7.
Ain't no
awesome.
groggy.
Let's go. All right, as we look ahead, Trevor, at the rest of the Big 12 and what BYU is trying to catch and compete against in conference, we know that Texas and Oklahoma are fantastic, and we're looking forward to the Red River rivalry. It's going to be an amazing game to determine who's the best in the Big 12 right now. But who's the 3rd best team in the Big 12 conference at the moment?
This is a tough one. I mean, if you look at the standings, you've got West Virginia sitting there at 4-1. I'm not sure that they would have that same record if they played the same teams again, right? I think that they're having a great start. No disrespect to West Virginia, but I would really have to say Kansas would be my next best team as long as their quarterback is healthy. Jalen Daniels didn't make the start last week against Texas because he had back spasms before the game. Everybody expected him to start, then all of a sudden his backup went out there, and his backup is really good. But at the same time, when Kansas is healthy, they are so hard to stop on offense, and their defense is so energetic. I'd have to say that would be the next best team. You could also make the case that UCF is that next best team. I mean, they've got fantastic skill players. Their quarterback is a serious dual threat, John Rice Plumlee. They've got real stars on the defensive side of the ball. And you've got to say that UCF is a really tough out as well. Now, this is excluding BYU as to where I would put them in this hierarchy, just teams that BYU might face or will face over the course of the rest of the season. But I think once you get past Texas and Oklahoma, you've got a bunch of teams that could beat each other on any given day.
Sure, Kansas State's there, TCU, and then are you throwing the Baylor win over UCF was
28-point comeback.
Was pretty
is
wild,
incredible. Okay, we have to ask you before we go about Zach Wilson and Puka Nacua. Zach last night had some real notable numbers. He's never had a multi-touchdown pass game without a pick. He did that last night. He's the first player ever to out-stat Patrick Mahomes. What did you make of Zach Wilson's performance in a loss? He was in a bad mood after because he had a late fumble. He felt like it cost him the game, but the narrative changed in one single performance around him.
Right. I mean, if you came into this game saying, okay, you've got two quarterbacks, one's Patrick Mahomes and one is quarterback X. And one is Zach Wilson. One of them is going to have 2 interceptions and a much lower passer rating. Which one would you say, right? Well, it turned out that Mahomes has a lower passer rating in that game significantly than Zach Wilson, in part because of his 2 interceptions. And we talk about resiliency. We talk about mental toughness. And even though Zach Wilson has some plays that he wish he had back, at the end of that game, Patrick Mahomes said to Zach, play like that every week. And that's a sign of respect. He didn't have to say that. He could have said, hey, really good game. Instead, he said, you can do this. This is what you can do. Do it every time. And the fact that his teammates and coaches saw him rise up the way he did and perform the way he did in this game is great. But to have Patrick Mahomes be quoted in the media as saying that, Zach Wilson, this is something you can do every week if you just do it. I mean, that's a massive moment. Now he has to carry it forward and do something with it.
All right, Trevor, we'll throw in Puka Nacua, whose first NFL touchdown catch happens to be a walk-off game winner in Indianapolis. Right. Oh, and he's setting all types of NFL records each and every week into his rookie campaign. How do you explain the phenomenon that we are seeing with Puka Nacua?
He's so smart. He gets it. I mean, he gets it. After the game, he described what happened on that walk-off touchdown play. And his teammates will listen to that. His coaches will see that, and they'll go, this guy isn't just a rookie running around catching the ball. You know, the quarterback will say, I can trust this guy because he gets it. He was running across the field from right to left. He was on about the 9-yard line, and the ball came in zone coverage. The ball came in and didn't lead him forward. It stopped him right there in the middle of the field. So without even seeing the defense, he knew that the quarterback saw that there were defenders coming from the other direction that were going to smash him if he kept running. So instead of slowing down, catching the ball, and then continuing in the same direction, he caught the ball and turned straight up the field and ended up scoring the touchdown. He made a guy miss at about the 2 or 3 yard line. And then that guy that would have smashed him didn't get there in time to stop him from crossing the goal line. And he described that. And as a rookie, to be able to say, yeah, I understood from the ball placement what the quarterback wanted me to do, right? That's advanced stuff.
Oh, indeed. He's officially gone next level. Trevor, we appreciate the time as always. Another loaded Matich Monday. We wish you the best until you get to football. We're all mourning for 2 more days until we get to some more football games. So good luck with that.
Hey, Seahawks tonight, bro. Let's go, Spence.
No one's paying attention to
Seahawks Giants. Let's go.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, guys.